So it is a very underestimated topic. Like people know people can create apps, but styling is very important. Like how our app looks and all that stuff. So there are basically different ways we can style our apps. So I figured out few of them. So I will just give a brief overview of few ways we can style our apps. So let's start with the first one. So the first one is inline styling. Like we all know in HTML, so we style inline or elements. So inline styling is done by the style property in any DOM element. So as in HTML elements, there every element has a style attribute where we add all the CSS properties. So basically in JSX also we can use the style attribute, and it's the object where the key is the CSS property and value is the CSS value. So let's see if you can you see the VS Code.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so basically I just added an image and some text here so that I can show you different same things with different ways. So first of all, let's see the inline styling. So for inline styling, what we do is, like, let's say I am styling this image. Okay, so we just use the style attribute, which is an object. So inside that object we use key and its value. So the same, like the same thing we do with CSS. So like I just want to add let's say I just want to add border radius. Okay, so in CSS what we do, we use the dash syntax, like border dash radius, but in React we need to use the camel case. So the border dash radius will become now border radius. So let's say, okay, so let's say border radius is, so it's an object, so it will be like this. So I set it to border radius to 150%. Okay, wait. Okay, so see, the border of this image is now 50%. So this is circle right now. So this is how we write the inline CSS. So like if this is just one property, so if I want to add multiple properties, like, so now if I say I want to another property, so I will just write comma, like it's a key value, like we write objects in JavaScript, just like that. So I just add like margin to
Rutik, sorry for
X.
interrupting. Can you speak a little bit louder?
Okay, no problem. So now, so if you want to write multiple CSS properties, we can simply write like this. So let's check this. Okay, so now the margin is added. So this is how we write inline styling. So the issue with this kind of styling is that we can't use like like for every element inline styling. The code will become a lot messier and not readable also. So you can like the best, like when we learn React, first you can use this inline styling, but there are also other scenarios where we can use inline styling. Then comes the next styling. This is the CSS in CSS, which is we all, like most of the times we use. So what we do, we create a different CSS file for our component. Like for every component, we create a different .css file and then write all our CSS inside it. Okay, let me just show you the. Okay, so next one is CSS and CSS. So what we do, we create a CSS file and import it in our JavaScript file, and then all the class names we use on the elements. So here also, like in the HTML, we had the syntax like class, but here we just, so I will just add here a syntax CSS class that is called. So let's say I add a border of solid 2tx. Okay. Okay, so I added a card class, created a card class. Then I will just, not class, I will just use the class name. This is syntax in here, and I will add a card class. So now, what it will do? Okay, wait. So a border is created here. You can see it here. Okay, so I won't be like making it too good. Just wanted to let you understand the topic. So this is how we use CSS in CSS. So we just create different classes here and then add classes to the elements. So the problem with this is that, like, let's see, if I create an image and then I add it to border radius 50%. Okay. So the problem is this CSS way is that all the global CSS values are like available in, everywhere. So I just added to. So even if this even if this image is in another component, so still it will be a circle. So the problem is this. So that may like result in bugs sometimes. So that's a different way. So for that solution, there is another thing which is CSS modules. So I haven't covered it in CSS modules, but let's see. So the next thing is, okay, so next thing is the CSS in JS. So we can create for every component, we can create a CSS file and create a folder and add both the JavaScript and CSS file and then import it. Then there will be like lots of CSS files for every component. There will be different CSS file. So when the application becomes bigger and bigger, it might become difficult to like jump from JavaScript and then CSS, JavaScript, CSS kind of thing. So for that, there is another solution, which is the CSS in JS. So it is the technique of CSS in JS. So it came to solve the problem that you won't have tons of .css files. So there are different kinds of libraries for that. Style components is one of them. So style components, it's, so what it does, so this is the basic syntax of the style components. So internally it uses the ES6 syntax of tag templates. So basically it's like a function which sends props of these strings to the component and it creates a component. So I will show you, okay, how we can do using style component. So I just imported the style components and we need to import the styled object here from the style components. So let's say I want to style this. So what we do in style components, we create components basically. So let's say I want to create a card components. So what I will do, I will just create a card is equals to styled object, which is we imported, and then what it's a div. So and then this is the tag template. Okay, wait. Okay, so this is how the syntax of the style components is. So basically all our CSS will be in the same JavaScript file, so we don't have to create a different CSS file for our component. So like we can add all the properties here, like uh, let's say background color to green maybe. Okay, why it hasn't worked?
Ritik, you need to like create this card component. You have to call it.
I forgot. So okay, so this is basically like regular component. So rather than I using this div, I can use this card component here. So now you can see this is now style. So we can use all these components in different ways. So this is a really nice way of like styling your apps. Like everything will be all at one place. Also it is easy to debug, like you want to find like what something is not working well, so you can just check out its component right into the same file. So that's another approach. Also you might think that we can do the same thing with inline CSS also. So like say, like if you can say like we can create a object, like let's say const styles is equals to let's say I will create a background color to blue. Okay.
Why we are using a style.div?
So this is basically the syntax. Like there is something called tag template returns in ES6. So it uses that syntax to create the component, and all these properties we write will be like to that component, all the CSS property. This is the syntax of style components. So there something happens in the internal of this code, and it creates the component with all these properties.
Yeah, so Satish, over here, like what we are doing is, so suppose we have to create a card component, we want our div to give some styling, right? So instead of like giving the styles directly, we have named it some, we have styled our HTML element. So we have created a style div, and we can add all the styling over here. And we can, instead of using the div tag, we can make use of card. So card is just simply a div, but with added styling to it.
Yeah.
You can, if you want to, suppose like a style a tag, link tag, you want to make it about the button, you can create a constant button equal to style dot a, and can give styling to it to make it look like a button. And instead of a tag, you can call button at its place. It's just a
And we
way
can
of,
put that,
yeah,
and you can
Also,
put
like
that link tag in that like whatever we
yeah.
are
But that button will then work similar to a tag, how it is.
yeah.
So and a style is not just for like these HTML element. So suppose if you have a component as well, suppose you have created a app component, in you can write a style, and under bracket you can write app as well. So it can style component as well, along with like these HTML tag also.
I didn't know about that. Okay. So
Yeah,
this is
that.
another way. Also we can do lots of different things. Like if you want to like even if you want to write media queries, you just need to write like at the rate media.
Also, one more thing with the styled components are you can access props over here. So you can do
uh,
styling based on some props as well.
based on prompts. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Skip this. Okay, so this was the style component. You can like read more about on the docs. That will a little helpful for you. So next thing is which I'm using most of the times, which is utility for CSS. So if you have used like Bootstrap before, so it's similar to that Tailwind CSS. Like there are Tailwind CSS is basically utility for CSS. So all our style elements, we use style elements by applying pre-existing classes directly in HTML. So there are all the classes are already defined somewhere. So we just need to write the classes and we can style our apps. So let's see the example of Tailwind CSS. So there are different approaches. So let me show you. Okay, so what utility first means, like see, so this is a component here. So here is the traditional way, like we are adding class and we are adding the class name here. So and then we are creating all the CSS right here. Okay, so what utility first CSS says that you can use the custom. So this is how, see the code here. So these are all, these classes are already defined, so we just need to use these classes and style our apps. So that's the meaning of utility for CSS. So you can like there is there you have to set up it by different following some steps. So you can see that on the docs. So I'll just show you how you can use uh, Tailwind in an app. So like let's say Tailwind is like really easy. Like you just need to add class name, and you don't need to like remember all this. You can just like you will understand this by practice. Also, there is an extension for VS Code also. So it automatically will show all the like all the classes while typing. So let's say I want to add padding. So I will just add padding. So basically, Tailwind CSS is a utility first CSS. So all the CSS classes are already defined. So we just need to write those classes. We don't need to write actually CSS. Okay, so this is like really nice way to like style your components. The code becomes really sound. But there is a problem with Tailwind is that like if you like your JSX will have will become a little bit like there will be lots of classes class names for every element in your JSX. So that might be the issue, but I don't think that's the issue, because it will reduce a lot of code. So what Tailwind, if you see the Tailwind CSS docs, so like for everything, whatever property you want to add, you just need to add the class. So like for example, you want to you say element a display block, so you just need to write the class block. If you want to use flex, then you need to just flex. So that kind of thing. And for not just for the static thing, even for the animation part, or or
You can
different
show
like
for
view.
padding or margin, like how it can be used.
Okay, okay, yeah, yeah. So let's see how. Okay, so this is the component. I will just style it. Okay, so let's see what I will do. So basically you just, let's say I write a border 2. Okay, I can write border, then gray 600. So if you see that there is a border right here. Okay, then let's say margin 40, so it will be little bit visible. Okay, let's say padding. So for padding, you just write to, like, if you want to complete padding both on the x and y axis, you write just like this, like p4. These are the values already defined in the, like we can write p4, p6, p8, all the different kinds of values. So it's a lot more customizable than other libraries. So let's say, even if I want to, like, let's, okay, even if I want to, like, make this rounded, so there is a class like rounded, so these corners will be a little bit rounded. Even if I want to make it more rounded, then there is rounded LG. So that kind of thing. Also, like, you might think like, okay, so what if I want to create a hover to this, like hover to this element? So that you can do also here also itself. So like you just need to say hover, and then you can add any property to it. Like let's say I will add a background of so now when I will hover on this element, it will change its background. Okay, so see, so like you can do everything with this Tailwind CSS. So there is no limitation to it. Also, there is one thing is, like, you don't need to write media queries. So there are predefined breakpoints in the Tailwind. So like, let's say I want to create. I want
Like,
to.
I just want to interrupt you.
Okay, okay.
So, like just like we are writing like in the class name border hyphen two. So like means border hyphen is class name and two is value. Am I right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay.
That kind
You
of
can.
thing. Yeah, so similarly, like if you want to, like, margin, so if you want, like, margin top, so you will write mt40 like this.
Ritik,
Or
can
if you
you
want,
show it in documentation, like
okay,
explaining
okay,
that
okay,
how? So documentation must have explanation like how it is being used. So you can show that once, like for margin or padding or border.
okay, let me just, it will be so much. Okay, so basically let's take an example of like this. I will show you the docs. Okay, so so let's say,
Margin you can show.
where is margin? Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so let's see. So if you add like m0 margin, so what it will add, like, so it will add this css to that element, like margin 0 px, like all these values are in rem unit. So like if you add m5, then it will add this value. So that kind of thing. So for all, you can, like, customize it all the way. Also you can change these values also in the configuration file, if you want to. So this is how it works for my margin. Even if for padding also, like if you write p0, so it will add all this in it. So you don't need to write these kind of things. We just can create this with these for everything. And so like where is it? Okay, so there are lots of like everything is covered in the docs. You can check. uh, all the docs later also. You can just have a view on the docs. You'll understand a lot more better. So that was all about. I think we should not stick to like one CSS styling. Like we should try all the things. Like I tried all the things. Like I have used modules, CSS modules. I used what style components and that. So there are like it depends. Like when we use like for small application we use different. Depends on the requirement, I guess. Like which we will use from the thing. So that's all I wanted to share. Okay.
If you
And
guys have any question, you can ask out.
yes, yes. No questions. Okay.